I would say if anybody truly knew who I am, I would be the most polarizing person in wrestling because I am the one who gets it more than just about everybody in charge of wrestling at this point. But let's just not say. But let's keep going.
Well, that's interesting because one of my favorite things about you is that you aren't afraid to put your balls on the table, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Um,
It doesn't work sometimes. I'll be honest.
no,
They go, that's quite shriveled and sad, sir. You are fired. I'm like, well, good. I quit.
But in that case, I quit. Man, so I'm looking back on our brief history together. I wouldn't even call it history. We've just known each other, and wrestling is one person removed from the other always. We kind of live in a big house.
Yeah. What I think is really cool though is like when we were together, we didn't really know each other. I was kind of on the outskirts and not really part of anything significant. But we've gotten to know each other better over time, and sort of how we reconvened a couple of years ago and realized how much, I don't know, fondness and admiration we have for each other. I think that's cool.
It is, man. Like you, I guess we started as neighbors. Do you remember that?
Matthews, we were. Holy, I forgot about that. Yeah. Where I had a bedroom, Kentucky. I slept on the futon on the floor the whole time.
It was like a frat house at your place at times.
And that was before I was like over with the boys, because I was kind of like, when I came, he's talking about Louisville, Kentucky and OVW, and I came in to try to like get on the scene, get on the radar. So at that time there was a developmental squad, and then there was the intermediate and beginners classes that were OVW. They had no WWE affiliation. So realizing I've maxed out my training and what I can do locally on indies in Cleveland, I thought that'd be a great place to try my craft. And Rip ended up becoming one of the most legendary figures and really responsible for a lot of things I still believe today. But yeah, we were neighbors in St. Matthews in Louisville, Kentucky. And before I was even cool with the boys, I was having ragers because I've had the ability to live life in two fronts. One is sort of that forefront of the wrestling bubble, as this is my passion, my purpose, my pride, everything I love about, what I do. But I also partied and went to college and went to bars and hooked up with chicks and hung out and was like a cool, suave dude. So I combined like two lives, which is one thing too. When I'm looking at talents to kind of cultivate or bring up, I want them to have something outside the bubble. It doesn't matter what it is, but just something that they get a taste of the reality of life, because we can get diluted and swayed in our bubble.
It's really important. I couldn't agree with you more. And we'll talk about sort of where our concepts and our beliefs intertwined and overlapped. And I think it's so easy for individuals to get trapped in that bubble, and it stifles them creatively. Don't you agree? There's no inspiration outside of wrestling, and in that case, what are we doing? It becomes mental masturbation, right?
And nobody comes.
Nobody comes.
I was going to ask you, because I wasn't familiar with what you guys did at OVW, because I never made it to the training there. I was signed to be an FCW, but like, if that was anything, because you were in a creative role, like if you brought to talent, or if that's something WWE preached at the time, it really wasn't something in FCW, because every day, the developmental talent were training or doing promo day. But I would always say Dusty Rhodes did a great job of like, he would make comparisons to John Wayne movies or sports, or he would make things that were outside the bubble make sense to what we're trying to do in the bubble. And I always appreciated that. But I do believe once you're stuck in it and you're lost in it and you can't unpop it, you are creatively stifled. You are one-dimensional, maybe two dimensions, but then you are also appeasing or working towards appeasing what you think is a majority, and in reality is a minority that will be entertain and enjoy what you do if you focus on it going towards a majority too. Like good
Yeah,
wrestling action, hard hitting, physicality with purpose, characters, stories that make sense, wins and losses having context. Dude, that's what we want in the bubble, I think. And then that's what people gravitate towards that don't maybe follow this with every winking moment, right?
right. Because that circle's going to be there. They're going to watch when they watch to get mad. They watch
Yeah.
to dislike. They hate watch. Right. The Howard Stern effect.
But they'll always shake your hand and love you in person. And that's okay. But it is, I don't understand the hate watch. And I remember maybe at a similar time to this, feeling like I was doing that too. Like, oh, that could have been better, or he's not even that good. And then it would carry over into like life. Maybe I'm listening to an album and oh, this guy sucks. Like, does he suck? Or is it just not for me? Or am I not hearing it right? Or that movie was stupid. I mean, is it the genre you care about? Like, because at the end of the day, a musician, an artist, an actor, a director, a writer, they're all putting something out there that no matter how good you may think it is, we should and want and hope that they put everything they had into making it something. So it might
Yeah.
not be for you, but to discredit somebody's work based on your personal opinions, I don't find appealing. Like watching Gladiator 2 the other day. And immediately when it became like the CGI kicked in, I'm like, this is not going to be good as Gladiator 1, but I'm going to take it for what it is because I don't expect it, because I'll live like I'm Maximus Decimus Meridius still to this day, 24 years later.
Heavily inspired by it.
Heavily love that movie, but it's like the story, like the opening shot of Gladiator with the field walking and the wheat in the hand, and then the boom, you're in like Gaul and there's a battle about to take place, and this stoic looking figure sees his bird and he like sees life and humanity and like what it really is, and he kind of smiles, and then it flies away and he's back in the zone of I have to murder everybody. Like that, like whoa, that first couple minutes catches you. Gladiator 2, all cool, they're on boats, there's catapults, like fake fire. It's fun action, but I'm like, okay, this is not gonna be what it is, but I'm gonna enjoy it for what it is. There were no sharks when they put water in the arena. I don't know why they felt like needed to
What
add
was
that.
that?
Like, that how is that possible? I don't think we could do that now, but whatever. But then by the end of the movie, I'm like, I was pretty engaged with it. I'm like, that was good. I'm happy I watched it, and I'm happy I didn't compare it to something I already loved.
Yeah, it's you brought up an interesting point with Dusty and how he always I mean, I was fortunate enough to spend
You
a
did.
lot of time with Dream, and he didn't really fancy himself a wrestling mind, so to speak. A producer, like a director, like a
He
Ridley Scott.
totally wanted to be a director, I feel,
Yeah,
and that's
and
cool.
he was able to. One of the brilliant things about Dream was how many times would somebody show up for a promo, especially if it was their first time, and it was always the, you know, I've been sleeping in my car, eating ramen noodles. Okay, like obviously you love this thing, or you wouldn't have come this far.
Right.
What do you got? And after the smoke clears and the dust settles, you see, there's nothing. So he was very good at like
I'm gonna
just the
be
prompts.
champion. And it's like,
Right.
well, this is my dream. That's like when I coach people and like, or we do seminars and prefaces before Exodus or NWA shows. If I hear this is my dream, I'm like, wait, just I'm gonna let you finish. Kanye, I'm gonna let you finish.
But
But this is everybody's dream. And like, just say anything else to get me to where you want to go. Just try that real fast. And then if it sucks, we'll just redo your normal thing. And usually, 9 times out of 10, they say something that at least gets them going, that puts them in a different mindset.
it's that prompt. Like he would be like, "Tell me about the worst day of your life. Tell me about your mother. Tell me about," and you would find sifting through that, you could throw out 90% of it, 95% of it, and there would be that one little nugget, and that's the promo.
Yeah.
Let's dig in
Let's
with
say
that.
that.
right?
He would say,
And
that's a promo. Like, even, this is not a wrestling promo. I don't care what you say. Tell me 3 minutes. Just keep going about, like you said, the worst day of your life. And the guy would go, and then, like, next thing you know, grown man's like kind of, breaking it down. Like, oh God, why am I being so vulnerable in front of all these psychos and wrestlers and crazy people where a job's on the line? But then they'd finish and they'd be like, they'd be so self-doubting that they'd be so, I can't fucking believe it. And then Dusty, if it was any sort of tangible story, would go, that's a promo, and instant confidence boost.
yeah, oh man, like I'm invigorated and inspired that somebody like you is out there still with that mentality, because the moves, the stories are it's been diluted, right?
I worry about where this is coming from for other people to carry on the tradition. Like, there's a few of us that worked with him, but, like, wrestling schools and, like, a lot of, like, reputable, good, still active, high level talent have schools and training. And then I run into some of their people who they always ask the coach, should I go do something with EC3? Hell yeah, that'd be great. And it's like, well, let's start with a promo. And they're like, oh, we never do promos. I'm like, really? Never? Like, I don't even know where to start. I'm like, I don't care. Fuck it. Tell me about your ride here. But who's going to be carrying that on? So I was curious about the OVW days, because Dusty wasn't there, and how that worked. We know how FCW did, but now I'm questioning how NXT would do it, or these high level academies. Like, how is it going forward? Because there's only one Timmy Baltimore. Like, Naylor had some experience with it. Anybody that trained in FCW or under Dusty had some. Like, Aaron Stevens is a psychopath. He's my best buddy in wrestling.
Oh yeah.
He's
like,
fantastic. You put, like, if we're out there, you and I, he's on the moon. And you're like, what are you doing up there, buddy? So I'm just wondering where else that comes from. And what I hate is, like, people TV jobs don't know this yet, or don't experience it yet, and you just want everything to be good, and, like, this is why I don't know, I just can't watch a lot of shit anymore.
It's almost impossible to critique at times, because it doesn't even play by the rules. You got to know the rules to break the rules,
right? It's
right?
with Ruben, I think an active active creative is, like, learn the rules so you break them.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, see, it's the only way. I speaking of OVW, and looking back on and doing my prep and research, and man, just like, what an interesting run and career that you have had. What a journey. You spoke to it earlier, that the people who make the changes, who do the things that turn the world upside down for others to reap the benefits, they are polarizing, but I feel like they're the ones that suffer the lumps. You have to.
Yeah.
Because people aren't ready.
It's like, man, sometimes I worry, dude, where I'm like the Van Gogh of wrestling, but I'm not going to cut off my ear. I'm probably just going to cut off my dick and die. And then it'll be like, look at all this teachings. Like, he gave us the blueprint to make wrestling. I'm not that good. Like, I'd like to boast, but you definitely have to suffer the lumps. And nothing great worth creating is not going to come easy, or not at peril to your psyche or your even physical self. It's just like, it doesn't. I was talking to a wrestler, you might know him, the other day. His name is John something.
Mm-hmm.
He does, like,
something.
Whatever.
May have heard of him.
Yeah, and we're talking, just briefly touching base via text, and good luck on this run, man. You're the fucking best. You're cool.
Right.
Like, his one thing was like, I just want to make sure whatever we do in this last year is authentic. And I was like, man, that's the easiest way to say it. And I feel like, how could people be confident and comfortable in being authentic, short of knowing that it will probably come with ridicule from the internet? Like, but the only person that matters is your boss. But if your boss doesn't understand the authenticity, then he thinks it sucks, or she. So I get the challenge to try, and then it's easy to be complacent and cash a check. Maybe target demo is probably people within the industry that would listen to this, but you can't win every battle outright. It's about tiny like victories. And
Man,
this whole thing is like, I can't be honest completely, but I think if you can find ways to be honest while accepting some bits of control, and that's hard to do. But like a great WWE, what's a great WWE angle recently? Like Punk and Rollins is great. Like
yeah,
Roman
the
Cody, that buildup was great. It took a year, and like the climax were pretty spectacular, but it probably wasn't. Every day wasn't perfectly aligned with that final vision, but enough good honesty, authenticity carried over to working even against a system where there's 20 people with opinions probably, and a bunch of jargon and ulterior motives, but it did pay off. But it's not always going to be perfect, even for those guys.